The only thing that gets ignored more than the electrical fire smell that my Vitamix has been making recently is basic music theory for people just kind of starting out on guitar, right? We hear stuff about triads and how, oh, you always need to learn triads. Use triads in your soloing, use triads in your playing. But for the longest time, I really didn't know what that meant. I knew I was supposed to, but I never got around to learning it. So today we're gonna learn triads to help us just open up the entire fretboard. Super easy. What we're gonna do is gonna sound like this. So it's really 3 triads that kind of coalesce into like some kind of, you know, lick type thing. And the reason I like doing it in this way is because it's the 3 major chords in the key of D. We have D major, G major, and A major, a little minor pentatonic run thing that kind of just, you know, comes together and just proves a good point of why you might want to even think about learning triads in the first place, all right? A triad is a 3-note chord. You already know all these. D major is a triad. The notes are D, F sharp, and A. That's the 1 chord in the key of D. The next major chord in the key of D would be a G major chord, and then the next chord would be an A major chord. Each of those chords have 3 notes in them. So D is D, F sharp, A, G is G, B, D, A is A, C sharp, and E. Now again, that's, so 3 chords, 3 notes total, 9 notes, but there's 7 different notes. Any key has 7 different notes in it, right? And we could run through the D major notes, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D. But again, a lot of people get daunted by that. They don't want to like have to take the time to memorize all the notes that go into a key. But if you just learn a couple shapes, it'll take care of all the notes for you, right? So within those 3 major chords, which you'll see in a bunch of different songs, we'll talk about how to move this around later. We're gonna actually take all the notes in the key of D. Real quick, this guitar video is sponsored by Chord. I'm rocking the Chord Gold A6. Love this guitar. I will link you in the description because you have to check these out. Great guitars for the money. It's great guitars all around. Chord. All right, so we're gonna start with a G major triad, but we're gonna do it in a closed voicing so we can move these around the neck to other keys when we're done, right? This guy right here. Okay, so you may know this as an F shape chord, right? So again, if it were F major, it would be 1, 2, 3, B, G, D, but we're doing G, right? So we're moving that 2 frets higher. 3, 4, 5, okay? That's a triad, 3-note chord. Doesn't matter if you play a bar chord, still a triad. Some of those notes are being doubled up, still a triad. Doesn't matter, just beef your ways to play the same thing. All right, so we're gonna run a G into an A. Just like that, same thing as G. Just a slightly different sound. Just how my smoothies have been tasting, slightly different, but I'm not gonna bother checking out the warranty on my Vitamix because I'm afraid of what I'll find out. The next thing we're gonna do right here, we've ran our shapes into, you know, the 5th to the 7th fret area. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna focus right here. This is a D major chord if we use the A-shaped chord voicing, okay? So I want this to be kind of like something that you see in your mind's eye, the 7th fret, all the way across, all right? That's where this D major chord is gonna live. We only really need these 3 notes right here, okay? So we've already just really got 2 pieces of information, essentially. We've got this triad here. We can run that 2 frets higher. The 4 chord to the 5 chord in the key of D, if you want to think of it that way. And then we can lay your ring finger down, just like that, to get the 1 chord. Okay? Now you can actually do something like that where we start to maybe break that down. You may even have heard stuff like, and that's just really a very efficient way to play those main chords in a different position than maybe you've been used to playing just D, A, G, okay? Now, what I think is a really, really cool thing about playing in this way is it lines us up with that 7th fret, okay? Now, why that 7th fret is super important for guitar players especially is because that's kind of where this relative minor pentatonic shape lives, all right? So I've done other videos and stuff on like relative minor, so on and so forth. I don't want to get so far into that because I just want to think about these as notes in this key that we're playing, but I want to show how that breaks down into this spot, all right? So think minor pentatonic. The minor pentatonic scale would be here 7-10, 7-9, 7-9, 7-9, 7-10, 7-10. Again, B minor pentatonic would be how we're talking about this, right? And then all those really cool, easy minor pentatonic licks really just get opened up, and we've really just walked ourselves right into it. So the first thing we're gonna do is something really easy, where we just take the A, D, and G strings, because it's really just, again, 7-9, 7-9, 7-9. Really super easy to remember those because it's a totally symmetrical shape. So, however we want to start switching this up, it doesn't always have to be G to A to D. There's a million different things that you can do, and as long as you resolve on that D major chord that is within that minor pentatonic shape right here, it's always going to sound good. It's going to have that resolution, that fitting end that we're looking for, right? So maybe just take a second to play around with this G chord to an A chord, and then repeat it. And then maybe backwards. Okay, and that stuff is like really, I think it's easy to do, and it's a great hand exercise just because you're playing chords, you're playing these triads, you're picking out single notes that's really going to help you out with like different lead things. One of my favorite things to do is take that minor pentatonic shape and then just maybe run double stops through it. Again, a double stop is when you play two notes at the same time. The beautiful thing about minor pentatonic stuff is it really lends itself into that kind of playing. So let's do the same thing, but instead of just doing a single note minor pentatonic thing, let's do like a double stop run that is going to resolve on that spot, okay? So again, we're walking our way through these triads, then double stopping through the shape, okay? So again, this is really just 7 to 9, but it's going to be 7D and 7G. Then the same thing down a string, 7G and B. I'm going to hammer on, or just get that 9th fret on the G string. And then after this, just going through these shapes. Okay, so think of these as the 11th fret on the G string and the 10th fret on the B string. And then I'm gonna switch my ring finger for my pointer finger. And then end up on that 7th fret where it was hanging out all along, right? Okay, and I'm still thinking of that just around a D major chord. Okay, so again, I like it because we're using just really simple things to kind of tie together and just do stuff that I think sounds cool. Sounds a lot more interesting than G, A, D. Okay, now again, one of the reasons that we like to use these closed voicings is because we can move it in any key. All right, let's say we want to do it in the key of E. You don't even have to remember all the names of the notes. Be like, all right, well, I know that D, D sharp, E. E is a step higher, so I'll just move everything higher. There it is. So there's your E. And then learning these patterns, kind of linking these triads together in a way that makes sense for the key that you're in, I think is the best way to practice them because you just get an idea of how they connect. All right, and then you'll make more of these connections later on. Like, all right, well, at first this started out being an exercise in the key of E, where I've got the 4 chord to the 5 chord, home. All right, and then it's like, well, maybe you recognize, oh, I've been in this position before. This is the A major position. You start thinking, okay, like in the key of E, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. It's like, all right, so A is the 4 chord. I got that. B is the 5 chord. Home is 1, stuff like that. You start making those connections, right? And I think it really comes from thinking about these triads. I really love the kind of register that this sits in with the D, G, and B strings. A lot of times you'll see triads look like this. Same difference, right? If I just wanted to take the top 3 strings for that G to A to D, I would go like this, right? The 4th fret, there's the major third of that chord I'm looking for. And then the 3rd fret on the E and the B. Same thing. But when you're playing kind of a solo acoustic guitar type deal, I think that these center string voicings kind of just have a little more weight, and I think just sound a little better. Just personally, you know, just me. So anyways, just a real quick lesson about just kind of linking these triads together. You can always move them. Anytime you find yourself in 2 major chords next to each other, you know that you can go straight down in that same spot and then just start hitting those minor pentatonic licks and then kind of always end up home, right? So just some stuff to really kind of pull together your playing. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. Thank you again to Chord Guitars for sponsoring this video with the Chord Gold A6. And like I said, let me know if you have any suggestions on what other stuff you want to see, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.